Hi, everybody. Today is Thursday, April 9, 2026, and our dear friend, our brother, Andrei Martyanov, is here with us. Welcome back, Andrei.
My pleasure.
Andrei, talking about what has happened so far in the Middle East with the war between the United States and Iran, I don't consider Israel to be part of it because
No,
they never been,
it's
they're not fighting the war. Andrei, I think the decision to go to war against Iran was a military decision. The people who had some sort of, I'm talking about Pete Hegseth and people like him, they thought that they can defeat Iran militarily. And the decision right now to go after ceasefire or somehow negotiate with it, it's because of the reality of the battlefield. We had some sort of raid recently happening last 4 days has
mhm.
happened in Iran. Then we had the briefing on Donald Trump. What is your understanding? What has happened on the battlefield that brought them to the negotiations or somehow ceasefire?
um, I just read the news that I have this sticker, it comes with this stupid Windows, Windows 10 and Windows 11 also. It pops up this MSN thing, and I read it, and yeah, there's whatever it was, MSN news or something like that. That there are critics in Pentagon now, critics of Mr. Hegseth. And then, of course, there is a new scandal is developing that also Pentagon essentially they say he threatened Pope, who is the first American Pope, by the way. So, we have to understand who Hegseth is. He has no military education. ROTC is not real military education. He never graduated beyond the mentality and level of knowledge of maximum platoon commander. Maybe I don't know, and even that is just. His old tattooed guy who he was an anchor. He studied politics, for crying out loud. I don't even know what it means studying politics in university. So you have this guy who had been in Afghanistan. He saw somebody shot from the distance, the 545 or 556 caliber bullet at him, and maybe somebody launched RPG, whatever. So he comes in and he thinks that he can understand and grasp the complexity of the real war. When they shoot at you, not with small arms, but when you have like all kinds of ranges between 100 to 1,000 pounds of the high explosives flying at you with, pretty consistently every day. What do you think is going to happen to people? They will die. They will be shell shocked. They will be absolutely demoralized. And that's not the war Pentagon knows. They have no clue about it. There's not a single American officer who understands what it is, because except for those guys who went there into the special military operation undercover and pretended that they are, we're volunteers. Many of them dead. Actually, Russians identify now, even at the Arlington Cemetery, all those volunteers, American so-called volunteers, who are essentially cadre officers and NCOs who have been killed by Russians in a special military operation. They get into the same thing, but now you do not have the cannon fodder like Ukrainians to hide behind them. You have to go out and perform. And you're performing against the something which is not Iraq. Iraq is just, militarily it's pathetic compared to present Iranian capabilities. And as a result, you have now, there is a disarray in Pentagon. Again, if I was absolutely stunned reading that somebody actually threatened Pope. All the Pentagon says, oh, no, it's not really what happened. We still welcome him, but Vatican essentially canceled the visit of Pope to Pentagon. So, and we have now somebody in Pentagon criticizing and actually, calling on Hegseth to be removed. Yeah, what did you expect? You have essentially the guy who have no real military background. The fact that he went to Afghanistan. Well, many people went to Afghanistan, okay? We saw those American generals in Afghanistan. They lost it, just basically from the onset because they are not good. And so this is the secretary of the war. And I understand it's a more political position. The problem is because of this thing about him. They always sell this, oh, I'm veteran of Afghanistan, or I'm veteran of Iraq, and they are veterans. They are people who went there and experienced those nasty things which any kind of war or high intensity police operation can impose on you. But he has no absolute background in operational strategic level. He wouldn't understand this. He knows one-liners. He rubs shoulders with some generals. But what you see now, and especially when you see now that essentially even New York Times and Washington Post believe to prepare the move to blame everything on Hexet, obviously, that he is being thrown under the bus. What do you expect from Trump, who himself is a coward and political animal which behaves itself now like the spoiled, the middle school, girl, and calling names, and we look at this, and it's just, I cannot wrap my brains around. This is the supposedly superpower. It's a third world. I mean, on the worst of the third world. There are some, third world countries somewhere whose political elites behave with more honor, integrity, and and as a result, it's all because what Iran basically hammered the final nail into the coffin of the American empire in the West in general, and they have to live with this. And yes, frankly, United States was paraded as the militarily paper tiger, and we're not talking about even Israel. Well, Israel drives it all. Israel owns Trump, it owns Congress, and so United States is in a catch-22. It's conundrum, okay? It cannot continue, but it cannot go. So it's just like it's stuck. And Israel, what can I say? I mean, doesn't matter now what they do. They are absolutely defenseless, and that will continue. And I think there are many people. I speak about it in my today's video, which is going to be up fairly soon after we're done here. Tehran calculated strategically very well all that. It's a really nicely designed strategy, not without its flaws. Obviously, you can never, as Mike Tyson stated, your plan is good until you get the first time, to the teeth, so, and then suddenly things go very wrong. But no, Iran basically nailed it in generally strategic terms. And operationally, we now know what is going on. So United States, their so-called ceasefire will not last, I think. And once it's resumed, it doesn't matter. We saw yourself today, even when Iran stated that, we will reopen Hormuz Strait for 15 vessels per day, didn't do much for oil because the damage already, catastrophic damage to what used to be called global economy has been done already, and you begin to see those manifestations of panic, disarray in the combined West. And Trump, that's his accomplishment. Well, that's what gets you when you're being a puppet of the Israel, and it's basically a fascist government which dreams about, greater Israel. They failed, and they cannot take it now.
Andrei, looking at the operation, this so-called pilot rescuing operation, what was that? Look at the level on, if I'm not mistaken, they had 12 or 14, aircraft. We had C-130, we had Black Hawks, we had Little Birds, 4 Little Birds, and look at
there were two C-130Js, which are specifically designed for insertion of the special forces. No, I mean, I don't know how else you can call it a success when we don't know. They were under fire. The only photo I needed to see, not even the burned down C-130s and all that, it's the boom of one of the Little Bird AH-6 helicopter, which was removed from, not removed, it was laying some distance from the place where those C-130s have been burned for whatever the reason, but they have been probably struck by something. But you could see this boom. and it's completely in holes from the small arms fire and large caliber machine gun, most likely. And that tells you everything that you need to know, essentially, because they did pull out those little birds. They tried probably to use them. Whatever happened after that, they were either shut down, or once they landed, they were immediately under the very serious fire. Did they have losses there? Did they have TIAs in the special forces? Likely. They probably took, obviously, the bodies of their comrades, with them, whatever was, extracting them after that. But yeah, it is a catastrophe. It's complete cluster coitus, and when you look at this, it's like, oh yeah, God. If you tell me that this is a successful operation, then I'm Chinese choreographer, okay? So, and then again, we don't know about this lady who is allegedly CIA, or Iran is holding her, I think. What we know so far, we'll have to wait and see if there will be some kind of trade or what have you. That these things are usually done behind closed doors. But yeah, I won't call it success, honestly. And I mean, I just feel for the guys, from the Green Berets and Rangers who have been inserted there, just because they have been basically sent to die. Now we can sit and speculate here if it was in the end attempt at the extraction of uranium. But anybody who plans, if would consider that, this is extraction of uranium, are you freaking kidding me? They still think that what they are facing is some kind of Iraqi bought out forces and things like that. You had Basij immediately jump, into the fight. You can see that there is a videos of them. They have their kids running with them, and they are with the rifles. So it tells you everything you need to know about Iranians, And so I don't know who planned that. It was probably under some political pressure. And they had to sacrifice their guys, the elite commandos, essentially, with the balls of steel, and they still send them to this. I don't know. It just absolutely defies imagination.
Yeah. I think when the reality comes out, that would be mind-boggling.
Well, I mean, Russians, given their professional due to those guys, American guys, special forces, who had to essentially sacrifice themselves. Again, they probably tried to repeat Gostomel assault, which Russian Pskov division, paratrooper division, and special forces did, which was very successful. They, held the airfield for a long time, and then, of course, political decision came. They withdrew, but they thought that, oh yeah, we can do Gostomel. The helicopters and aircraft. No. This is different circumstances, different, essentially conditions on the ground and elsewhere. And so when you look at that, it's just like, if somebody wanted and thought that they could do whatever extraction of 450 kilogram or from Isfahan nuclear facility, which was also itself, many kilometers away. It wasn't the vicinity, the area, but really. So yeah, Iranians are having this facility there in Isfahan, and they have this door which is written there, here are 450 kilograms of the uranium, and we don't have any special forces or guards, guarding it, and they are just simple guys. This defies imagination, essentially, and any common military sense.
Andrei, part of what has happened on the battlefield is the case of ammunition interceptors, not only the interceptors, but also the cruise missiles that the United States is using against Iran. What of the pictures that we've seen just 2 days ago, one of these interceptors that Israel is using, David Sling interceptor, was produced. The picture shows that it was produced in 2026, this year.
Mm-hmm.
They're using the production of this year.
Yeah.
What does that say to us?
That's it. They ran out of everything. As simple as that. You can take a look at essentially Iranian missiles flying at will. Apart from the fact that obviously, they are scraping the bottom of the barrel. Both United States, Israel itself is just this once you remove this BS with this propaganda by Israeli media in the United States, because most of them are essentially Israeli controlled or APAC controlled, it's a third-rate military power. Okay, the only thing they have is air defense. Okay, their infantry is a joke. You saw yourself what Hezbollah did to them in southern Lebanon. Now the Netanyahu comes out and say, "Oh yeah, you know what? We're ready to negotiate, but Hezbollah has to disarm." Really? I mean, yeah, no go. So they can continue to do what until they do whatever they do until they completely run out of it. Israel economy is pathetic. Do you know how much steel they produce them on their own? 300,000 tons a year. Do you know what it is? Just to give you an example, Russia produces 236 times more steel, okay? 236 more times, 71 point plus, probably around 75 now, million tons of steel. This is the third world country, essentially, And so the only thing they have nuclear weapons, which have been stolen from the United States, essentially. And then what do you have? They have the IDF. Late Colonel Lang, he stated, who was through the Defense Intelligence Agency and the veteran of the Gulf War, and he communicated with IDF constantly. He wasn't very impressed with. He said it's a gendarme force with the heavy equipment, and you saw yourself how basically Merkavas are burning in southern Lebanon, and they're stuck. And the only thing they can do, and that's what they always do, the same as the United States, they essentially fed off each other. They were high on own supply, you know what, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and basically extolling each other as such great powers. While in reality, the only thing they can do is to basically bomb, to use standoff weapons. Without the United States, Israel is nothing, really. It's the third world country with their nukes. That's pretty much it. And militarily, industrially, and what have you. And so, as a result, the bluff has been called, and again, we see a complete implosion of all that. So, will they continue? Well, the United States has to. It cannot do anything about it. It's literally stuck. Because we have to understand what is going on. 20%, 1/5 of the world energy supply is controlled by Iran today, period. Read my lips. It is controlled by them, and there is nothing. Even nuclear weapons will do nothing to unlock it. And there is another thing which many people forget. And Houthis already said, we are, with Iran, we're going to fight it. There is Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Red Sea. And look up how much of the trade also is going through this. And then, of course, we have yesterday, Iran struck one of the pump stations of this pipeline east-west of Saudi Arabia, which goes to the Red Sea. So you can see yourself this scenario unfolding, which is a nightmare for Israel, obviously. Israel is done, actually, in general. And for a Trump administration and for the United States and for Europe, it's over. I mean, what are you going to do? Poland sent three corvettes there. Well, yeah, they will make the great change. And here is the issue which nobody pays attention to, and it has to be brought up. I will have to make a special presentation on that. Where is the U.S. Navy? Oh, I can tell you where it is. Nowhere near to be found, with the exception of obviously some kind of the SEALs or what have you. And obviously the nuclear power submarines, which are by the virtue of being submarines, are not detectable by the Iranian forces, and then can still launch whatever is left in terms of the bombs, Tomahawk missiles in the American arsenal. That's it. You cannot move any asset into the range of the Iranian anti-shipping missiles, period. That's what happened to the USS Tripoli, which is now in the southern Indian Ocean, because you cannot move essentially this marine expeditionary unit, which is probability is extremely high that it will be struck. And then what you're going to do when you have essentially you have 2,500 Marines there and the crew on this LHD, It's horrible. It could be absolutely disastrous. And we still do not know how they fought laundry room 30-hour long fire on Gerald Ford aircraft carrier. So there you go. And what we have now is, you saw yourself, everybody sees it. Those vessels are stuck, and nothing you can do about it.
Andrei, part of the operation that the United States was doing in the Middle East was, when it came to the Strait of Hormuz, Donald Trump was trying to convince Europeans to drag them to the Middle East. Today, we've learned again, Donald Trump is trying to force them, as he has this 2 weeks of ceasefire. He's talking about that, but on the other hand, he's trying to put pressure on the NATO Secretary General Rutte and then to NATO countries to come to do something about this Strait of Hormuz. What is Europe? What can Europe introduce to the theater in the Strait of Hormuz that the United States is not able to do? And because we have to understand, what does Donald Trump want from them?
Listen, if you read attentively about his posts, even yesterday, about Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is a middle school, spoiled girl, wussy, essentially, which hysterical, lashing out and behaving himself. He is mentally unstable, and we have to admit this now. So he can try whatever he wants. The problem is, as always, the United States wants somebody to get hit by the anti-shipping missiles because they cannot afford. And again, it's pathetic. Okay, let France send its whatever, the Jalopy, it's called the Charles de Gaulle nuclear-powered aircraft carrier with a couple of those destroyers or frigates. See what's going to happen. So that's the only thing. The rest of it, they can move only their very limited number of the surface assets. Most of them are utilized and designed in such a way that to carry, most of them, they carry MK-41 vertical launch systems, which are loaded with the same Tomahawks. They have some anti-shipping missiles, most of them subsonic. All of them are subsonic. And so let France do it. And see what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure Iranian forces, they are just salivating and having some kind of the destroyer or what have you appear in their sides, so to speak. So yeah, and for Trump, he's trying to basically hide behind the backs of NATO so-called allies, in reality vassals. But those vassals now. They don't want to die either, So each of them is essentially a bunch of the criminals, and we'll talk about it. I will talk about it at some point of time also. But I mention it all the time that when you look at the elites, the military political elites, bunch of the incompetent hacks, the only thing they know is how to stay elected and how to stay appointed in their posts. I read today the statement by this chief of our French army, Mandon. He's a child. He doesn't understand what he's talking about. So they don't have resources. They don't understand how it all works. The only thing they understand is that once they get into the range, they will be sunk. They will be hit, and the consequences will be catastrophic. Especially for people sensitive and like French or British don't have anything altogether. They prefer to have whatever the aircraft carrier they have now, hanging out in the relative safety of the Southeast Asia.
Andrei, the way that Donald Trump was talking about the war, and he said that he's gonna put an end to a civilization, and calling Iran, and he's gonna end it. When someone likes Donald Trump, he puts something like this. He posts something like this. What is happening in his mind? Does he really think that even the use of nuclear weapon can destroy a civilization? He's so childish.
You have to understand. First, we have to understand the ceasefire for which United States was begging. United States begged Iran since March 16. This is for those people who have the attention span of the guppy fish from aquarium. United States wasn't just, oh yeah, let's do ceasefire. No, they were begging this from 16th of March. And this is how the actually title of my video today, which will pop up after that, it's called peremptory. Iran issued 10 points for the negotiations for a simple reason, for them to be rejected. They are pretty good strategies there. It's very similar to the Russia statement on December 2021, which was peremptory too. Take it or leave it. Not, we'll go in, we continue. Iran is ready. And that's the whole thing. Iran can take it. They can continue to do. They know their own arsenals. They know the number of the weapons they have. They know now they kind of refine their tactics and operations. And this, United States doesn't have time. It doesn't have arsenals to continue like this. So what's left? So I don't know. I mean, do they want the boots on the ground? Yeah, they can put the boots on the ground and see what's going to happen. It's going to be a slaughter. And here we are. And Trump, being desperate and absolutely uncontrollable, he cannot control his outbursts. He's a narcissist. He's self-centered, egotistical maniac. Now we have the onset of dementia. So you put this together, you have a deadly mix of the person who is not normal. He cannot concentrate on anything. He doesn't understand what he wants. And he is controlled by Israel, because we have to understand all these explosions, tactics, operations, they kind of, for now, a little bit obscure the main fact. He is 5,500 times mentioned in the Epstein files. We cannot accuse him before it's, because the presumption of the innocence, but everybody understands what is this all about. Everybody who is not complete moron, who worships this, golem of the, essentially puppet of the Israeli government, Mossad, and he's totally embroiled into essentially being controlled by his sycophants who are Christian Zionists. They are not Christians. These are people who have loyalty to Israel. And so when you look at this, he probably at some point of time will go bananas. I mean, he will explode because he is a ticking time bomb. And what he will do? The only thing is, which is probably the saving grace here, he's also a coward. We know now it's established fact. And so when he threatens to destroy civilization, which is more than 20 times older than the United States as a country, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is his pathetic, wussy, middle-aged, spoiled brat lashing out. And as Michael Brenner today, wonderful Michael Brenner, one of the few truly deep thinkers in the U.S. Academy, he wrote today that United States debased itself morally, completely. It's completely debased. It has no morality left. It has no moral authority on anything. It participated in the atrocity and genocide in Gaza. It participated in the war crimes in Ukraine. And it's now debased itself to the point that you have the president of the United States behaving itself like it's incredible. The rest of the world took the note. It's national embarrassment, national humiliation, and he can say whatever he wants. And for him, this ceasefire is somehow to get himself out of this verbal diarrhea corner he created for himself when he was stating that, we will bomb the, Iran back to the Stone Age, that it is the, will kill civilization. And guess what? You forget another thing. He called the Iranians animals. This is the office of the United States president, POTUS, president of the United, have been humiliated and debased. It's a freaking zoo, and it's painful for me to say this because I lived in the United States for more than 30 years, and seeing what country has become is unbelievable.
Andrei, the basic problem is the behavior of Israel, because right after announcement of the ceasefire, we've seen what Israel did to Lebanon. They attacked Lebanon and killed many people, many civilians.
They kill civilians. Israel is a military power. It's primarily, as Colonel X, gendarmes, Well, now they say the punitive battalions, they are fascists. The only thing they can do is kill civilians. That's the only thing they can do. They are pathetic soldiers. They have no staying power. They are being burned again. Again, listen, Israel is the cancer now. We have to understand this. This is, we can say it openly. They command, there are actually 57 million of the Christian Zionists in the United States, people who have no loyalty to the United States, to Constitution, to American people. This is what their power base is. They dream about great Israel. Greater Israel. They want to take parts of, Iraq, Egypt, what have you, all those territories. So, and they behave themselves as Nazis. Because they are. That's Zionism is the essentially Jewish fascism. That's what it is, expansionist, and they always use the anti-Semitism cover up for them. But I looked at the faces of people they kill their civilian children. They attack children. They love to attack children. After what they did to this 1-year-old kid, burning cigarettes into this child, this country has to go. And it will go. It will dissolve itself because it's absolute concentrated evil. And so, what can I say?
Do you feel that the society in the United States is getting to the point, because many people are talking about it, it's not about, it's the people who were supporting Donald Trump, the people who voted for Donald Trump, they're talking about, why are we supporting Israel in each and everything that they're doing? As you mentioned, it's all about death and destruction of neighboring countries. And tonight they're going to attack. They said that tonight it's going to be 50 days if they had some sort of deadline for Gaza, for Hamas to disarm. But they're saying they're not disarming. That's why we're going to again resume the attacks on. This is unbelievable. And I don't know how the people in the United States would somehow get along with the behavior of Israel and support Israel anymore.
Well, it was changing slowly, but it was changing. But you have to understand, you have this generation of baby boomers, bunch of their humanities primarily, but not exclusively, pot smoking, jerks who went through the Woodstock, who tried to draft dodgers primarily, who never experienced any difficulty in their life. And then after that, suddenly after they got enough drugs and sex and all that, they suddenly decided, oh God, we need to become born again Christians. And they became born again dispensationalists who are Israeli firsters. And so guess what? They are worried about more stock option than about the fate of the United States, American people, that basically the foundation, actually the spine of the American civilization. And the United States is not just the nation, it's civilization. It's white, middle and working class is being essentially annihilated by their policies. And so as the result, we have what we have. Guess who are those primarily, basically Christian Zionists? These are baby boomers. They love their also prosperity gospel. These are the people who have no morality. They don't care how many Arab or how many Iranian children are killed. The only thing they care, because they never cared about anything else in their life. All those fairy tales about that they were anti-war, they are warmongers, most of them. So, and when you look essentially who are effectively, as Tucker Carlson was talking to one of the wonderful guy, you can look it up a couple of days ago, about what Christian Zionism is. They are Talmudic Jews wrapped into their Christianity. That's who they are. They do not have loyalty to anything except for their stock portfolio and Israel, because they are so cowardly that the only thing they think about is stick their salvation to some heresy from Schofield Bible. And, and again, listen, we are looking at the metaphysical problem. And again, this will not be solved militarily. United States society itself, it either basically cleanses itself, or it's going to die, and the United States will disappear as a country, which is a highly likely now. I don't know how high probability of it, but it's either does it or United States will cease to exist as the unified country, and it will break apart. And apart from the fact that it's already not ever going to be, at least in our lifetimes, it's going to be as prosperous as it used to be at some point of time, and again, primarily driven by the cheap credit. These opportunities have been blown away by all those self-centered jerks from Wall Street and bankers and things like that. And so what do we have? We have the country which is, while still intrinsically wealthy, but the system works only one way, to make majority of the people poor. And that's what is happening right now, this very moment. And United States doesn't have any morality anymore. It's over.
You've mentioned that the United States is a civilization, and I do believe that civilizations can reproduce themselves, even if they're in ashes. They can reproduce and reborn and refine themselves. And is this happening? Is this going to happen to? We're talking about some areas that are literally in ashes, that they need to reproduce themselves in those areas. One of them that you've just mentioned, when you don't consider other people as human beings, you call them animals. These are not beautiful terms to be used today.
No, it's complete decomposition and degeneracy of the civilization. We can talk about Rome and how it also declined, because United States loves to compare itself to Rome, which it is not. But yes, United States is a civilization. It's more than just nation. But I can tell you one thing: unless this heresy and deadly death cult of Christian Zionism is removed from the body of the United States, United States will die. But can civilization reborn? Yeah, it can. And again, look attentively at the United States. It isn't intrinsically wealthy country. It has all resources to do so. It has still remnants of this talented and entrepreneurial American, not only white Christian, but Christian in a normal sense, Christian, working and middle class. But it's their basically spine. If not, it's over. But they were trying to eliminate it, and obviously they perverted it in all moral, financial, and what have you terms. And again, this mythology about the U.S. military, American militarism is almost clownish. It's cartoonish, okay? You have the country which basically confabulated its own military history, not taken away from the American heroes who fought bravely, and especially when you look attentively at the World War II. But even my people, people in my blog, in my discussion, Americans, they say, you know what, we need to stop this. The United States never was outnumbered, never fought, with one hand. It was always fighting with enemies which were really weak compared to the United States, not to speak about that completely impotent like Iraqi army, for which, So it has to be understood. United States still is not continental power. It never will be. It's the matter of culture and geography. But American civilization is absolutely worth saving when you consider the cultural contribution of the American civilization, which of course not only white people, black people, we have jazz, we have this wonderful blues, we have all kinds of very vibrant American literature, which are arts. We have some wonderful ideas. Republican ideas, not a Republican Party, which is corrupt cesspool of the cowards and Israeli firsters. We're talking about Republican ideas which have been, important from the classic heritage of the Western civilization, Greeks, Romans, and But something happened, and this something happened. It happened with the essentially Judaization of the whole American culture, which Hollywood essentially degenerated into this perversion, which they sell to. And when you look at Washington, D.C., as I already stated, United States doesn't have U.S. Congress. It has Knesset 2.0. And you have the administration, which works strictly for Israel and donors of Donald Trump. And his master puppeteers, such as Netanyahu and head of Mossad, so because everybody understands he's blackmailed, and it's just What he's blackmailed with, that's the other story. If it happens, my idea is the 25th Amendment, or impeachment and conviction and removal from the office, and then he has to sit in the, you know what, in the dock, giving the positions or what have you. So, but one can only hope.
Andrei, do you think the addition they have, the head of negotiating team right now is JD Vance? Is that going to change anything with the negotiations?
No, it's saving private Vance, literally, because obviously GOP doesn't have any better. JD Vance was supposed to be this new person, new generation, appealing to the young people who are not very excited about Israel, to put it mildly, and which is good. This is great. This is awesome. Basically trend. The problem is, they try to whitewash him and present him as the guy who was at least tacitly against the war with Iran and things of this nature. But I doubt they can do that. The Republican Party, which is Israeli party, much more than Democrats. Democrats also have a bunch of the Christian Zionists and Israeli firsters. But I mean, Republican Party is Israeli owned. Okay, let's put it this way. So it's going to be very difficult to really do anything substantial in terms of the midterms. And once the midterms will be blown out by, essentially American voters, we might get the one-party dictatorship, which will be the Democrats. But I hope that it also, and people say, oh yeah, the third party is impossible in the United States. Well, actually, majority of the Americans are actually gravitate towards what is called independence. And they need their normal, mildly conservative centrist party, okay, political party. And that will be a majority of population of the United States, which will integrate all kinds of voices from the white, black, Latino communities, which they're sick and tired from this garbage which is happening. But this duopoly, which is not really kakokrasi, it's oligarchy. You have to understand. Each of the congressmen or congresswomen, they are owned by corporations and by the political system itself ceased to function. It's like the engine, which suddenly, ceases to exist. Then you have the black smoke, coming out of it, and it just basically destroys itself. This is what the process we are in. And so that is why there are so many branches, so to speak, of the possibilities here. I almost have to go, Markov chain, you have to know. This is, but it is very, very extensive in terms of the outcomes. But the system itself is dead. It doesn't work. Basically, we are observing the collapse of the American civilization in the progress. But as we already stated, if there is a civilization like Russia, which has been reborn as Phoenix, could the United States do it? Not with this political system, because you cannot vote this out. They are utterly corrupt. But a new generation, I might not live to see it, eventually may push their proper change, especially driven by the economic realities of United States becoming poorer, much more poorer. And now that essentially Iran does what it is doing, and suddenly running the whole Middle East, some political and economic processes will force this change, including the fact that Israelis, there is a reason they are censoring everything. Israel is devastated, and they have this covered Netanyahu and all kinds of those Zionist fanatics sitting there, but they have no tools. Without the United States, Israel is nothing. Just nothing.
Andrei, if we think a little bit optimistic about JD Vance, as this negotiations could be a golden opportunity for him, not only with Iran, he may later on go to talk with Russians. Just let these two guys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, be, on the margins. But he negotiating with these two countries, Iran and Russia. And is that going to help him? Is that going to
It
bring some
might somewhat. It might. Again, the process of the Saving Private Vance is in a full swing. Okay, we understand that. What can he do? That's a whole other story. You have to understand, J.D. Vance, for whatever his background, and we know his background and all that, talking and negotiating with Iran is one thing. Can you imagine him negotiating with and meeting Vladimir Putin? He's a sonny for him, he's a kid, simple as that. These are different leagues intellectually, experience-wise, and essentially having the real, for example, meeting Vladimir Putin, he will, if he goes there, he will be meeting with the head of the real global superpower, which can change the world, and the only country which can wipe the United States off the map. That's a whole other story. Can he handle it? I don't know. It also depends very often on the team or what you collect or assemble around yourself. Trump surrounded himself with primarily psychophants and people who Mossad told him to appoint. And he's Miriam Adelson, main financier of, and her late husband, he was the guy who said, "Oh, let's explode nuke over Iran." Yeah, that's Trump's administration. That's who they are. Pete Hegseth is fanatic from Scofield Bible. He dreams about the third temple because he's an idiot, so highly uneducated and uncultured man. So, and when you look at answer like this, do you have any other options? Where are those people who have morality, have integrity at least, some understanding of things, especially military things, which Pentagon is utterly incompetent militarily? Because you can take a look at the procurement programs of the United States. This is written in the kindergarten, okay? So, and I don't know. I'm not in Washington, D.C. Luckily, I'm the completely opposite shore of the United States in Washington State, and that's how I like it, okay? I don't want to be anywhere around the American power and intrigue and, cutthroat, treasonous traitors working for Israel and who knows who else, So I'm so happy to be here. But do they have those people? I don't know. They're all political and apparatus animals who only know how to navigate this corrupt system to stay appointed, to stay at their sinecures, which provide them whatever they provide them, their payments for their golf clubs, for their sports cars, for their prostitutes they hire. So this is the level. This is what Washington, D.C. is. And it's utterly corrupt swamp, and you cannot do anything about it, at least for now. J.D. Vance, you need to have balls of steel, and you need to have what the United States doesn't have. If you compare to what happened in Russia in end of 1990s and 2000s, anybody who thinks that Yeltsin abdicated himself, I have a bridge to sell you. But then again, you have to have the military, which really is highly professional and patriotic. You have to have the intelligence services, which working for Russia. That's where Vladimir Putin and present National Security Council of Russia came from. You don't have this in the United States. CIA and all those, they work for Mossad primarily. There are no people who say enough is enough. We have to do something. No, they will run to their corrupt congressmen trying to tell them that, oh, things are bad. Guess what? Their congress people and senators are corrupt themselves, And so you have this situation that where is this elite where people, you look at them and say, God, these are awesome people, just I can believe them, I can trust them, I can see where they're going. That's what happened with Russia. In the United States, so far, it didn't manifest itself in any way. Mostly shysters, political shysters, demagogues, and things like that.
Andrei, when you're talking about the third party in the United States, we know that, for example, RFK Jr., Bobby Kennedy, he tried that. It wasn't that much popular as, someone like Tucker Carlson. But do you think someone like Tucker Carlson, who has, this sort of base from all around, the Democrats, Republicans, people to the center. Is it possible for someone like him to?
Yeah. Tucker, he can run. I can tell you more, he probably going to win the presidential election, but he will need a party. So obviously, we know GOP is utterly, again, it's not American party, it's Israeli party. Democrats are basically insane. They will completely destroy the United States because they are woke politics and, they're insane, okay? They are insane, but in a different way. Both parties are utterly corrupt, and they represent the neoliberal class, which, again, cares only about their stock portfolio, and they don't care how many children in the United States go hungry. They don't care. Their task is to support all kinds of the deviancy. They organize the, legitimize pedophilia, for example. So this is who they are. But Tucker, yeah, he can. But again, we know who runs it. Remember with Charlie Kirk? Yeah, everybody believes it. It was Israel, obviously. We understand that. And again, U.S. Law enforcement and counterintelligence organs are pathetic. They are completely under control of Israel. They will do nothing. I mean, they are completely sabotaged. They are completely compromised. And so that's what happened to the United States. And that's what I'm saying. It's a decomposition. The United States is decomposing. We are in the middle of this. And it's controlled by the foreign power. And every institution, media institution, and, like Hollywood, they are, look at that. Well, Hollywood is dead. The faster it's died, the better. The less corruption it will spread around. And so we have to accept this reality. And how many people in Washington, D.C. accept this reality? Well, we have to understand they have families, they have, their mortgages to pay, or what have you, as I already stated, golf clubs are, they live in this world, where power, matters, where you have to exhibit yourself. It's all exhibitionist, so, but in reality, how to say it, if Tucker goes for the third party, his life will be really in danger because he can collect. I would register as the Tucker party, if many people would, very many, so both from the more conservative Democrats and leaning, centrist GOPs and goppers, so to speak, it's possible, but there have to be serious conditions for that to happen. And one of the critical points of this is for Tucker has to have the real serious support of the, what is called in Russia, it's called Siloviki power bloc. But look at Pentagon and CIA on FBI. Good Lord, it's just utterly compromised and not very bright people, because it's just, we are looking at the decades of the negative selection. The worst of the worst are being, surfaced. And so it's a horrendous work, and again, United States doesn't have, it has militarism, but it doesn't have military culture and tradition and, depths of the cultural penetration in the society as Russians did. That's why Vladimir Putin has become possible. That is why Nikolai Patrushev is possible. That's why Mikhail Mishustin is possible. That is why Medvedev is possible. That's why it was an incredible operation also to fooling this, at that time, pretty substantially powerful, combined West. And when you look at actually how Russia basically navigated those things, you have to have the very big time professionals with the fire in their midst, with the fire in their hearts, loving their country, ready to sacrifice for her. Pentagon or CIA, really, the only thing they know is how to go out somewhere and blow and kill civilians. That's about it.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrei. Thank you so much for being with us today. Great pleasure, as always.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.